um, question on the chapter on hope that you wrote in Beginning of Infinity. I think it's, or the chapter on optimism is, I think, one of the ones that, just really brings the point home in a just really wonderful way. Because I think one thing that you often get, or like that, certainly, like, I think, an existential hope lens on the world sometimes gets, is like, well, isn't this just Pollyannish? And, you're like entirely ignoring the risk. And it just almost seems like, you're fighting like an uphill battle there by just making a claim that, like, there are good reasons for optimism. So I wonder if you could lay a few out here.
Yeah.
Obviously you can't summarize the entire chapter, and people should definitely go read it if they feel so inclined. But, what are a few, good reasons for optimism?
So maybe the first thing to say is not good reasons for optimism, but almost like the one thing I have in common with the doomsayers, which is that I don't think anything is inevitable. Human improvement is not inevitable. It is always down to the choices that people make. And there is no limit. There's no naturally imposed, God-given limit on the size of errors that we can make. We can mess it all up if we make the wrong choices. So, and that conditions how one can become optimistic, or how one can have an optimistic worldview, while being able to combat the objections that you mentioned, that you run into. So optimism is not what I call blind optimism. It's not the theory that things will go right, even though they look as though they will go wrong. It just like blind pessimism is the idea that things will go wrong even if they look good, which also is quite a popular view. It is that because what will happen depends on our choices. It depends on the knowledge we will choose to create, and on the knowledge that we will not choose to create, and on the ignorance that we will not leave ourselves in. Because of that, there's no reason to give up on any problem. So problems are soluble. Their problems are inevitable, as I have also said, to carve in stone, and also to carve in stone that they are soluble. And they are soluble by specific, not methods, because there are no methods for problem solving, but specific types of process can lead to solving problems, and specific types of process can inhibit the solving of problems. So conjecture and criticism and institutions of criticism and error correction and of consent are necessary. They are the things that are most precious in maintaining our forward momentum in regard to ideas. Because if they are impaired, it impairs everything. And once everything is impaired, well, civilization has collapsed before. And I see no sign of our civilization collapsing. But as I said, there's no supernatural force holding it up and enforcing continued progress. It'll be up to us. And if everyone decides that progress is in fact bad, that progress is in fact an illusion, that progress is always at the expense of one group of people in favor of another, if that becomes a prevailing view, then progress will stop because nobody wants it. And once it stops, there's no reason why it should start up again. Again, historically, it stopped and it started up again. And in these smaller scale cases that I describe in the book, like Athens and Florence and so on, it didn't start up again. It was just taken on board by the general Enlightenment. But I don't know of any law of nature that says that the Enlightenment had to happen. I think we should be very grateful that it did happen, and we should try to keep it going, and we should try to improve it, because it still is very flawed. It always will be very flawed. We will never reach a non-flawed or almost non-flawed state.